Hi, I am Kristin Toner, founding company member with the Indianapolis Ballet, and today I have the pleasure of introducing our new executive director with Indianapolis Ballet, Mr. Don Steffy. The first time I remember us meeting was approximately the year 2000 when we were both in the performance of Don Quixote, and I was one of 6 small dancers in the dream scene, and you were Don Quixote. And I remember your larger-than-life personality that you brought to the role appropriately as Don Quixote. And it turns out you have a background in ballet as well. Would you mind talking about that a little bit?
Just happens that I have. Yes, and in fact, that's one of the exciting things about coming full circle into the pleasure of being the executive director for the organization. But my wife and I were classical ballet dancers and directors of a company for a total of nearly 20 years.
Wow.
So that joy is something that I'm just so looking forward to building. And when I was doing the role of Don Quixote, I was at that time executive director of Pike Performing Arts Center, a presenter here in town. So I kind of took a 20-some year hiatus in the executive leadership roles. I just recently finished over 10 years with the Indianapolis Children's Choir as executive director. So what was great about it, by stepping out of the art form of ballet, it really allowed me to not think about it and really to think about what I needed to do as an executive director, resource development, capacity building, and building the organizations up further. So now I get to come back to the joy of the ballet, bring all that expertise back, plus the knowledge of the ballet world. And I think it's going to be just a wonderful, wonderful fit. The growth of Indianapolis Ballet has been really remarkable, and happy to be here.
Great, thank you. We're so excited to have you. So from being a professional dancer to being an artistic director with the Montgomery Ballet, how did you find the change from being a dancer in the room to being at the front of the room leading dancers?
It was very interesting because prior to that, I was closing in a Broadway show called On Your Toes, which ran happily for a year and a half, won a Tony, by the way.
Awesome.
But always a performer. And it is very different being in front of the dancers. But, after you've done it, you know what you want. So it was really just trying to figure out the communication piece, and really I enjoyed it tremendously. And then moving into choreography, it was great. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I enjoyed as I look back, certainly the art. I mean, we had just some great times. But really, I enjoyed, because I was kind of artistic director, CEO,
Okay.
I had to be as we were growing the company. But it was the joy at the end of a season to turn around and offer a dancer work, the joy of work. And so coming to Indianapolis Ballet, that really is a thrill, which gives me the inspiration, to go out and raise money, to look for sponsors and to build also the earned income, really just the capacity to help the dream continue.
Fabulous. I am so excited to work with you as the Student Services Coordinator for the Indianapolis School of Ballet, with your long tenure with the Indianapolis Children's Choir, and just to learn how you've been working with children and students and just bringing that part of the community together.
Yep, and in fact, in that part, that's a little bit, different art form, but really similar in many ways in terms of dealing with students and running a school-oriented organization. And then in Montgomery, we had a large school of ballet. My wife ran that school, and she continues to run a school today, the Lebanon Ballet School up in Lebanon, Indiana.
Wonderful.
So I've been around school of ballets and children almost all my career in one fashion or another. So sure, I'm looking forward to working with you, Kristin.
That'll be great.
We're going to have a really good time.
We will. Your family foundation, the Miller Family Foundation through CICF, is great, and thank you for supporting the arts. And what was your desire of giving back to the arts community through that?
Well, you've done some research, Kristin.
A little bit,
oh,
yes.
Heavens. Well, you're right. The Miller Family Foundation for Theater and Dance is a foundation that I started almost 15 years ago. I did it out of frustration, actually, looking for funding. And I said, Steffi, kind of like a takeoff on President Kennedy. Ask not what you can do for yourself, but what can you do for the funding community. And I was always in the know of donor advised funds because of my asking for money. And so I met with CICF, Central Indiana Community Foundation, and I received a small bequest from an aunt of mine. She was a cook in a middle school down in coal country in Ohio, and never had children, and she left us just a small, nice bequest. And I said, you know, my aunt would enjoy if I just spent the money and bought something, or she would still love that. And I decided to create this fund in honor of her. So it also has her name within the organization. But the purpose was to give back to those organizations, those type of organizations that gave my wife and I the joy of work. Theater, I started as a child actor, theater and dance. And so I fund organizations, primarily professional organizations that employ actors, actresses, and dancers. And so I fund in Indianapolis several organizations. First one I ever funded was my hometown ballet company, because that's where my wife and I met, and I have to thank them for that.
Yes.
As well as, of course, launching a career in the ballet world.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. The arts are very undersupported, so anything is very helpful. Thank you.
I spread that word a lot because a lot of people think you have to be extremely wealthy to be a philanthropist. I feed my pig every month, and then it goes out to other arts organizations. And anybody, even a dancer, can start a foundation. And the great thing is that even after I pass on from my grave, I'm going to be saying, you need to fund this organization and this organization, because what I'm doing is setting my priorities so that future boards of directors will go, whoa, well, this is what Steffi wanted. Plus, it's in the document that we all signed, for the fund. But I want others to realize that. And if you start now, it's for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I have seen you at Indianapolis Ballet performances after performing myself, and we've chatted in the lobby. How do you see your new role as executive director? How is that going to change or enhance your viewing of all of our performances?
Oh, well, I'm sure I'll actually probably enjoy and view them with much more pleasure, because it'll be like part of my family now.
Right.
It's just what it is. I go to a lot of performances here, but also outside the city. Very selective on what I see, I have to say, but I get very excited and inspired. But when I'm now with Indianapolis Ballet, and I'm probably going to get a little nervous waiting for that curtain to go up. And then what will be great is that I'll be sitting amongst the patrons.
Right.
So I'm going to be feeling even probably more excitement than the dancers feel on stage, because I'm in the moment. And I just know the types of conversations that will come on at intermission, because when I was a presenter, that was the same thing that happened. I would sit in the audience, we'd watch what the performance was I brought, and then in the lobby at intermission, the chatter was strong. Mm-hmm. So it's really great, because I will further promote all that Indianapolis Ballet is to the patrons, which hopefully will inspire them. It has to be inspired to donate, so it's going to be fun.
It will. Mm-hmm. And what is your vision for the next few years for Indianapolis Ballet under your leadership?
Well, the first thing we need to do is get out of COVID.
Yes.
So there's all that homework.
Yes.
And just like all the arts organizations in Indianapolis, we'll go in, we'll find out how decimated we were. It's just a challenge. And then from there, we're going to start working back. We're going to be having a board retreat within probably these first 3 months. I mean, there's just a lot of things that I need to get in the heads and find out where you guys are at more. But then also vision out with Vicki Liris, the wonderful founder and artistic director, because it's really about supporting the art. So I may want to do X, but if it doesn't support the art, then it's just my own personal joy, and that's not why I'm here. Vicki and I, we are in a mutual partnership, which I was at the Indianapolis Children's Choir with that artistic director, Henry Leck. So I'm very familiar with the dual leadership. But really, at the end of the day, when you're working with a founder, you're really supporting that founder's vision.
Yes.
In consort with the board of directors, and where do we want to take it? And then really the organization now that it's larger, it's more mature, then everybody needs input into saying, I think we can become this level. I think we can do these sorts of things, bringing in more outside choreographers as well, touring, embellishing our performances here. and yes, that takes resources, but that's just part of the business plan. But first you have to know where do you want to go? Where do you think you want to go?
Right.
And then prioritize and say, okay, well, this is what we're doing this year. But the great thing I think everybody will feel is there is a momentum that's moving constantly and moving forward. And that's going to be exciting.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We are so excited to have you in our family with the Indianapolis Ballet and to work with you so much. So thank you so much, Mr. Steffy.
I appreciate it, Kristin. Okay. I'll still call you Kristin instead of Mrs. Toner, if
Thank
that's
you.
okay.
That's fine.
You're welcome.